lobby here, and then we will get moving. Launch my email. I apologize. I'm a little bit slow today. Just a little bit behind today, I should say. Maybe I don't mean to say either of those things. Let me just get this going because I have to update just a couple of more things. That being the, come on. Just finishing up this SV business and we'll be ready. One sec. Bobby, where is he? I think this worked. Just make sure. Yep. So I'm just finishing up the SV projections. Hey, what's up, Bobby?
Hey, what's up, man?
I'm just finishing up the SV stuff, so you could. I just need like 2 more minutes to get that up.
Yeah, boy, there's a lot of value out there. It's going to be interesting to try and make sense of what's the best part of it, because I think you've got some pretty good cases, and it's just going to make it pretty chalky to play some of these high-end spends. So it's going to be a whole situation we're going to have to figure out.
And it's funny because we talked about that earlier, that that these big end spends are not exactly projecting all that great.
Right.
So maybe again we should, even if we use the value, if we're going to use it at all, maybe we should use it so that we can get 3 or 4 mid-range guys instead of paying up for the spends.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that, you get into the Booker, Van Vliet, and it's not that these guys are going to be unowned, but I think it's a pretty logical way to try to build, to try and include these guys. I really like Van Vliet. I like Booker. Booker's going to be the lower owned of the 2 of those guys. I think you get a shot on both of them. I think, in my Steph lineups, I'm more likely to play Booker probably. But I like Van Vliet as an individual play a little bit better. And I do think Steph is going to be a little bit of the lower owned. I think that people are just going to do the Harden or Durant thing. And that's fine. But I kind of like the idea of going for the ceiling game for Steph, even though the median projection is definitely lower than the others.
And, we keep on, I feel as though it's almost should be said at during every show that we do, especially considering how much, effort and how much emphasis I put on projections and all that stuff. Just remember that projections that you see are just medians. And as a matter of fact, like if I can promise you that everybody here was going to score what I project them, I guarantee you won't win. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're never going to win with just the median projections, and that's what you are looking for is for ceilings. And you don't need ceilings out of all 8 guys, but you need them out of a couple. I mean, to make it work.
Yep, absolutely. And some of the guys, like, I'm sort of stuck with trying to figure out what to do with some of these obvious cash game plays that I like CJ McCollum tonight. I think that there's a good argument to play the other guys I just mentioned over CJ McCollum. It doesn't have to be him who goes off. There is blowout risk in this game. Simons has really stepped it up and can actually, handle the team on his own too. And then you have our old friend Dennis Smith Jr.
We do
back in our lives. Oh wait, and now LeBron James is out. Okay.
No.
Yep. Okay. Well, we'll wait for the projections to update on that, but I can tell you already that you're going to want pieces of that game in general now. The Lakers play faster without LeBron, obviously.
Who else plays better without LeBron? Freaking THT.
Yeah, to THT. He's back in the mix. A Westbrook on FanDuel especially. Davis, even though he's continually sort of let down, I'm just on FanDuel, his price has come down enough to where I feel like in this is the kind of team he should be able to put up a ceiling game against. So I actually had Davis in my initial build on FanDuel anyway today. So I mean, it's going to be, obviously now they're going to become the chalk. So you're gonna probably get even lower ownership on guys like Steph, on guys like Booker, because we just saw this Laker game the other night, and well, I don't think I sort of like the under in this game. It's still going to be played with a great pace, so you want to get pieces of it, and maybe we're going to have to change a little bit of our prioritizing with where we're at right now.
I mean, do you have to play? Do you have to play Davis?
You don't have to play Davis. You don't have to. I think that I mean, we've seen the situation so far this year, and for the most part, it's been sort of Russ's deal,
right,
ahead of Davis. So I would have Westbrook ahead of Davis without LeBron, but on FanDuel, I think it's really close. And as you mentioned, Horton Tucker is certainly a strong play, and it goes back to guys who no one's going to play like Malik Monk on this slate because of the other value we have. So maybe that is something that's worth considering. Especially with how he just played against the team. Wow, that's a kind of a big one. What is
LeBron is in fact out, huh?
Jeez, right as we come on, and we always get news because that's just the timing of it. But like, it's a pretty big piece of news right there to try and figure out our way around.
I'm gonna manually update. I'll give Horton. What am I going to give him? Just until the projection's up there, I'll give him 27 fantasy points. Just as something to do. Who else gets a natural bump from LeBron being out besides Davis, obviously?
It's really Davis and Westbrook and Tucker. I could actually argue that maybe it's not as big of a bump for Malik Monk as people would think. Sort of they've liked that combination of playing Monk with LeBron. I don't think people are going to be playing though Monk. I just think that there's too much other value out there.
Yeah.
The other one though is Carmelo.
Yeah.
Carmelo, going back, probably a little thin for me, but I think it's viable. I would probably prefer to play Horton Tucker, who has a lot of different ways to hit his ceiling other than just hitting threes. Wow.
It almost seems though the smaller the slate, the more the news.
It doesn't. Lately, it has been that way. I feel like. Saying what's up to everybody in the chat. There's a lot of comments here. I'll just try to address that.
What do we got?
What's up to our man K9 Bronco, John Jenkins, Kevin Wise, the normal guys, and we have Jeremiah Vincent back. He said he hasn't been here forever. Hopes been winning big.
Oh wait, so I got to talk about that for a second. Just you answer questions in a second. Let me just finish. I'm doing it in FanDuel, then I want to talk about him for a second.
Okay. And then Jeremiah Vincent's back. Yeah, so far the NBA's been pretty good and on a little football run lately. Nothing huge, but still making money with it, which is nice. Yeah, Monk. I think Monk is viable. I just think that I don't want people to go out there and expect Malik Monk to have this incredible ceiling per game. If he's hot, he's gonna have a big game. If he's not, he's definitely thinner than the other value. Like if you're playing Malik Monk, you probably should have Simons in that lineup. I don't think he outscores him enough of the time here for him to be more viable than Simons. And I like Simons and DSJ. I am going to try to fade Simons in a couple lineups just because anytime somebody's 75, 80% owned, it's just hard to do. Yeah, anyway.
Just give me 1 sec. And I'll update. I will do something with the Westbrook thing.
God, it really is hard to fade Simons, though, for me. I mean,
I don't know. Can you just play? I mean, you already talked about it.
Play DSJ.
Yeah.
But I mean, Simons has been putting up 30s with Damon.
Yeah, I get it.
It's tough. And you play DSJ, you hope for the blowout angle. You play DSJ and Larry Nance instead. Like, you know what I mean?
What do you think? What do you think of Nurkic?
Yeah, I mean, he's the other super mega chalk. And like in general, my attitude with Nurkic, I mean, this is a different situation. We haven't seen him that much without Dame, obviously. The minutes should be a little bit more secure, you'd think. But at the same time, he's, again, we talked about the back-to-back thing again. And they did play yesterday in Utah, and they now are back home against, so they travel and Nurkic, I mean, at the same time, like I said, he's had some of his best games have been on back-to-backs and some of his absolute worst games have been on back-to-backs. So I would probably, I have him like 45% right now for my lineups. But I think that trying to fade one, and I think maybe just not playing Nurkic, McCollum, and Simons together, unless you're planning on running back somebody from Detroit, might be a smart thing to do. I think Cade Cunningham is a better play than he was because the game has a better chance to stay close. And Sadiq Bey and Jeremy Grant are viable as well as run backs because we have all that value. But I mean, in terms of games to target, I think you have actually a pretty good list of them. I'm sticking with my early day pick that the Knicks are going to beat Brooklyn. I did, or at least it's gonna. I definitely like them with the 6.5. And the weird part is that all that's going to be lost here is the Memphis situation. I feel like is going to end up on DraftKings being basically not that big of a thing. Like people aren't going to. They'll play a little Jaren Jackson. They'll play a little bit of Desmond Bane, who I like. He'd be my preferred play on DraftKings. The guy no one will play is, and this is extremely speculative. But if you're trying to play the 150 type of thing, I think you want to mix D'Anthony Melton into some lineups.
I don't even think that's that sneaky.
Really? I mean, he's projecting to play 20 minutes.
Okay.
So I haven't seen a projection for him of anything higher than 4x.
Yeah, with all the other value that came out, you're right.
Yeah, I just can't see. I think he's going to be like a 0.1% owned. Like I think no one's playing him. I mean, maybe if we depends on how the starting lineup shakes out, I guess, and somehow he ends up in there, then of course it could be different. But I don't think they'll do that. And we do need the starting lineups before we figure out what to do because I kind of do like that situation. And Kyle Anderson, I think, is a strong play. I know it's weird to say, but like he's actually, other than Bane, probably my second favorite Memphis player. And Tyus Jones, I think, is a better play on FanDuel. But I think on DraftKings, I think I'm kind of into this taking a shot with Kyle Anderson at 4,400. Juan Toscano Anderson. So Jay Smooth. So my answer to the Juan Toscano Anderson is an interesting one because why would we play Juan Toscano Anderson with this other value?
Yeah.
That's where it starts feeling really thin. And Juan Toscano Anderson is, again, another guy projected to play 20 minutes or so. If I'm going to play a guy who's going to play low minutes, I want the guy who's got a blowout upside, and the guy who can basically put up 35 in those 20 whatever minutes without something really freaky happening. And that would be Larry Nance Jr., who I would give the edge to over Brandon Clark, actually. And I don't have any Juan Toscano Anderson. I certainly understand it. Of course, it could hit. To me that he's the worst value.
Yeah, I think that's really. I think that's really thin.
Yeah.
You can play Jay Crowder for Christ's sake.
Yeah, he's gonna at least play minutes. And JTA may end up doing it. I like him a lot as a player. I just, yeah. But I'd rather play. Then you could also move up and try to get Metu, who I like as well. So.
I guess in about 10 minutes, I will do.
It might be a COVID thing, by the way, with LeBron, or at least it's a protocol. So? At least they said health protocols, so it doesn't. It's either he was exposed to someone or he's got it. Boy, that's frustrating. Nurkic has put up one monster on a back-to-back DFS Wolfpack. Unless I'm looking at this, let me pull up Nurkic's number. Historically, he's always been a very bad back-to-back player, but obviously to get rid of Lillard. But I'll just point out that he had the monster game against Sacramento after the Denver game. He had the other back-to-backs that he played. He played 18 minutes against Toronto, had 20 fantasy points. That's obviously not a great back-to-back. He against the Clippers, he had 43. So that was actually a solid one in 26 minutes only. The only thing that worries me is that they are really limiting his minutes, and maybe they'll run their offense more through him, so that's going to bump him up to 30. But there's still a chance he plays like 24 minutes tonight. That's completely – they've been going small, and just because Lillard's out doesn't mean they can't go small. It's not like Lillard helps them go small. In fact, you can make an argument that they might even lessen his minutes because they might go with that lineup with Nance. They could play Nance at the 5. They could play Covington at the 5 in this type of matchup if they want to. So. But I still have Nurkic in like basically half my lineups at the moment.
I'm trying to think of a reason why I don't do exactly what I was going to do earlier. That being play Curry, play Booker, play Ayton, and then fill in value with the rest of it.
Yeah. got this question in the Halliburton. I don't see those as being the same kind of play. It's a pretty large pricing gap between the two of them. Straight up, who do I think scores more fantasy points? Cunningham. Do I like Halliburton for tournaments? Yeah, I like Halliburton a lot for tournaments, actually. On FanDuel, Halliburton's going to have some ownership, but I don't think he's going to on DraftKings. And I like playing these, I like these Kings in this spot. I've mentioned this like a bunch of times. I feel like they keep playing. Well, they just played the other night. But I think you really have to try to attack the Lakers as much as possible. They just defensively they've just been awful. And one of Halliburton, Fox, or Hield, probably two of them have big games tonight. And if they don't, that means it'll be Mitchell or maybe I guess a guy who I like, which is part of the reason why I'm kind of thinking about doing something with Nurkic, and he's also got minutes issues sometimes as well. But I like Richaun Holmes in this spot.
Yeah, you mentioned him a couple of times today.
Yeah. And maybe you could play those two together and skip the Precious thing. Now, I think Precious is still a fine play, but I don't think it's an absolute lock. And I think earlier in the day it stood out value-wise. But even that like Precious versus Svi even itself is a pretty close call. So slightly different price tiers, but close enough.
I just always like it's something you told me a long time ago. I mean, these center algorithms are the ones that are broken. I just rather have the center, I think.
Yeah. I do think Alec Burks is viable. I think he's less viable. The fact that all the 5 questionable guys are in, he's going to be popular too. So you need him you can't play him and like you're going to be with a lot of the field with him. And he can put up a ceiling. But I personally would take the shot on Derrick Rose myself in this matchup.
Is he playing?
He's in.
Well, there's something that we talk about is not everybody is going to be 100% owned.
Right.
They're going to be good plays that at the end of the day, we're saying, oh my God, he went off 11%. And we're going to know why, because there were just other quote unquote better plays.
Right.
But you can get some really good plays that at noon would have been 60% owned or you know what I mean?
Right.
Not going to be right now.
Yeah, I agree. I do think people will fit in. So I think Burks is a guy I would want. Like if I had scripted and like I would want maybe like 10% of them. I think he ends up like around 25%. Maybe not that high anymore because there's been enough news that's happened. Actually, it'll probably lessen now that you got you're going to get some THT love, and I'm curious to see how your projections update with this one.
Yeah, I'm just waiting on one.
Yeah,
I
think we
one bunch of idiots. And that's it.
All right, so let me just take a quick look and see if I've got anything on this. These don't feel appropriately updated. I mean, you can't have Westbrook at like, why would he project in the 40s in a game without like ever? Like, I mean, it's going to happen. Sometimes he's going to be in the 40s, but on DraftKings,
yeah, we talked about that, right? I mean,
he should be projected way. I mean, so maybe they haven't just updated it effectively yet. That's a weird spot. As a Laker fan, I'm kind of disappointed to see it, even though I'm not the biggest LeBron guy, as we all know. It's not fun, though. Obviously, they're a much better team if he's playing. Bembry, wow, there's a name. I mean, I think we're reaching guys like Bembry. It's going to take. He can do it, sure.
That's tough.
But you're really asking for a lot, and there's just no reason to get that creative because you see a couple of 30 fantasy point games, and it goes, oh, he did this recently, and he's going to be low on. So maybe, maybe on FanDuel at 3,900, you could make an argument for him. But Bembry with the lineup, with the way that they have it set out, I've got Bembry playing 24 minutes. I think he's got upside to play 30 minutes, but he doesn't need to play 30 minutes by any means. He could play 20 minutes. He could play 16 minutes. And in 30 minutes, we've also seen him completely fail. Now, I know he's had 2 good games in a row, but you also have Cam Thomas, who's back now for Brooklyn. So he's going to lose some run.
Who is that?
Cam Thomas, the rookie.
I don't know who that is.
You will someday.
Okay.
Believe me. No, the only way I would play Bagley tonight on DraftKings, and let's try to keep it with the sites if we can, just because it makes it a little bit easier. I think that's at least a hero type of play that I could get more behind than the other guys we talked about. But don't get excited because you saw him play 34 minutes and put up 27 against the Lakers. That was a double overtime game that he played both those overtimes. He played 24 minutes in that game. And the next game, after to thank him, they played him 18 minutes. So I think Bagley is very thin, but the kind of tournament winning upside play that I do like. Just don't expect a return. Like, it's like you're playing him, you're hoping that they start making him more part of the rotation. And against the Lakers, who play big, it is the right kind of matchup to play him in. But he did that the other night without Richaun Holmes. Don't forget too. He put up that nice game without Richaun Holmes, which is a fairly large difference. And as of right now, if you hear he's starting, though, if we end up getting word that he's starting, then you just you just smash that play. Then he becomes a great play.
Are there any issues playing? There's no way you'll have an issue with this, but playing Nurkic and Nance together.
I think it's counterproductive a little bit, but I think it's doable. I think it's okay. I specifically created my lineups to not do that.
Oh, okay.
And I did the same with Covington also, to not have Covington with Nance or with, and I don't love Covington, especially with all his other value, but he is a guy who's going to be low owned and who's going to play 30 plus minutes at 3,900. And while it's not all that exciting, he's had these horrible games sprinkled in, but still 7 of his last 9 games, he's been over 24 fantasy points. And obviously it's a decent enough matchup, but I think I prefer Nance over him straight up. It's close though between those guys. Nance is more the Bagley-ish type of play, but we at least know he's going to get his normal run unless something weird happens. And even though we haven't seen as many ceiling games from him, we haven't seen him play where he's had any usage. And Detroit's the kind of perfect matchup. Sloppy team, turns the ball over, and will play to whatever pace they want. And I could see Nance having a nice game, especially with the back-to-back. He didn't play that many minutes in Utah last night. I think he's an interesting play.
Who's the guy that you were concerned about with the back? Oh, Nurkic, right? That's right.
I know he's had 2 good games and 2 bad games in this year with the back-to-backs, and in the past he had really struggled. But he tends to get more minutes in games usually where they're playing against teams that have legitimate other bigs.
Okay.
But even still, he's cracked 30 minutes once this season, I think. That's crazy. And so for him to be projected at 30 minutes just feels a little bit like,
that's rough, right?
What's that?
That's rough.
Yeah, how do you project a guy who hasn't played 30 minutes in a game to play 30 minutes, or has done it literally one game? Absolutely, it could happen, and without Lillard, maybe it's more likely because you can. But what you're really getting is you're getting the usage bump because they will run some of their offense through him. He's a really strong play, but you just try to find reasons to fade the chalk. That's the only reason I'm talking about Nurkic like that. No Mitchell Robinson at all for me. I initially had him, but no Mitchell Robinson with all the other stuff we have. But I don't think it's awful. But also Taj Gibson is back, and so is Noel. So definitely, lowers his ceiling. But we've seen that Mitchell Robinson break some slates before. So I might leave him in one $15 tournament, one of the $15 or something like that. Okay. I don't know if I want to do anything more than that with him. To answer that question, game stacks asked by K9 Bronco. So on FanDuel specifically, I really like the Lakers game stack. Actually, that's the part of the problem I have tonight is I actually like all the game stacks. They all look pretty good to me. We have the value opening up the Portland Detroit game. And you run it back probably just with one guy from Detroit, either Cade or Grant or Sadiq Bey. I actually think that the sneaky one might be this Knicks Brooklyn though. But I wouldn't go more than 4 players. I'm talking about playing Julius Randle, one of Burks, Barrett, Fournier, or Rose. For me, it'll be Rose, but Rose and Randle on one side with basically just KD or Harden on the other side. If somebody wants to go play LaMarcus Aldridge today, that's fine. And I was saying this all year. He actually offensively, he can't move defensively. He's going to be played out of matchups and stuff, but he looks like he could. He can still score.
Seems like a tough slate to play him on though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I see him in double-digit projected ownership. I'm sure that can't be right.
No, it's not going to happen.
No, it can't. But I would rank, if I had to rank my favorite game stacks because of the things that have opened up, I think you have to put the Lakers and Kings as number 1. I like the Steph back and forth with with Booker or Paul or Ayton. All of those three are viable, but I like Booker the best. And you try to get the ceiling game out of him, and you have Steph on the other side. So I like that. Or you could throw in a Draymond, but I wouldn't play Steph with Draymond on this slate, and I wouldn't play Booker with Paul. I would consider playing Booker with Ayton, but I think you're getting a little bit, or maybe being a little greedy. I do like the Memphis-Toronto game, but I think I don't think you need. It's not a. You're not going to have to allocate a ton of your salary. You play Van Vliet and you play Svi, or you play Barnes, and on FanDuel you play Siakam, and then on the other side with Memphis you play two of the guys I would pick. I'm sorry, would be Desmond Bane and Desmond Bane, Kyle Anderson, then Tyus Jones would be my favorite three. And one guy who's not going to have any ownership tonight because of the price of the guy on the other side of the game, and I'm not going to play him. I think he might end up with like a $15, but that's Steven Adams. Just a weird, silly value, but I don't think it's probably that viable. I actually think now that I think about it, maybe Mitch Robb and Steven Adams I would rate as fairly similar plays.
All right, just so you guys know, I did do a one more update with the Anthony Davis thing. Not really getting much Horton Tucker, so I don't know what's going on. Still the same guys for me: Nurkic, Simons, McCollum, Precious, Davis, Svi, Van Vliet. I mean, nothing earth-shattering as a result of the Lakers. Then Westbrook obviously gets a bump.
Yeah, Westbrook and Davis, I think, are both very valuable plays. I'll stick with that. And if it's me, I'm usually going to side with Westbrook on these ones. All right, let's see. Anything else coming up? I still have to go build through my lineups because I'm going to have to basically reshuffle everything now.
That's what I'm doing right now, actually.
Yeah, it's tough. I just feel bad for the dead air for my side of it sometimes, so I feel like I get distracted.
Well, they're just looking, you know what I mean? That's why I share my screen that you can see exactly what I'm doing. So
no, I love that. I think it's great. But I'm obviously not sharing my screen at the moment. I'm curious about where, like, I am interested to see where their ownership ends up on Westbrook. I have a feeling people are going to play Davis more, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
I think THT is a really good tournament play. If people aren't going to go there, if projection systems aren't liking him, I would just be happy to take that shot. We've seen him have monster games without LeBron in there, and I have no problem with that.
You know who I'm getting a decent amount of that you kind of mentioned is this is going to be nothing special either. Is Scotty Barnes?
Yeah, no, and unfortunately, I like Scotty Barnes. Great game environment, that whole situation. That's a nice game. You can build four of your pieces from. But even still, like, I know we have late news already there. We don't know who's starting for Portland.
Yeah.
We don't know some of these things. We don't know if Sacramento's this will be the day they change their lineup up. There's stuff that's going to happen later today. That's later tonight. So giving the edge to the later games is still what I believe in doing.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Yeah. All right, let's see. What can we get here? I do think that Lakers, that is a pretty tempting stack over here. What did they make the prices on these? I have to go through Sacramento. And FanDuel. I mean, Fox at 7,600. It's pretty tempting. Halliburton 6,300. That's tempting. Buddy Hield at 58. It's way too low. Yeah, that's a game that I think I want to get into stacking on FanDuel. Now that I look at it, it sucks though because everybody feels underpriced over there. Like, you have Tyus Jones at 4,600. You have obviously you have Simon. That's going to keep people off of Westbrook over there. So I'm probably going to take Tyus Jones out of my lineups on FanDuel. And I think I might just hammer stack the Laker game. And you can't. The problem is you can't play Westbrook and Fox because it's really with Simon. Well, actually, Simons does have shooting guard eligibility, so actually you can. Never mind, but it's still going to stay fairly low. You know what I mean? And Harden is 10K, and people are going to want to play him over Westbrook. I am not going to be one of those people. God, guard is so loaded today.
Yeah.
So loaded.
Maybe that's why, like I said, maybe Westbrook comes in low owned somehow.
Yep.
Playing a little Carmelo, that makes me feel pretty good, actually.
I don't mind that at all.
Something different. You know, like,
God, I keep ending up on FanDuel just with the exact amount to fit LaMarcus Aldridge in, and I don't want to play LaMarcus Aldridge. Okay.
what do you think's going to happen in this? You think the Phoenix Golden State game is going to play fast or no?
They're both good defensive teams, but Golden State still plays really fast.
Yeah.
I like the under if I had to bet one way or the other, though.
Hey, you know who I'm getting a really big amount of on FanDuel is somebody you mentioned earlier, and that's Siakam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm now rebuilding my main FanDuel lineup to stack the Laker game, so I might have to skip Siakam, sadly enough, today.
Yeah.
And I'm actually considering fading CJ McCollum over there. That feels a little worrisome, though, to be honest. But that ownership with how many good guards there are just feels like maybe, I don't know, maybe we don't need to.
Tyus Jones is only 4,600 on FanDuel. That sucks.
No, and with Simon, that's what I'm saying. It's like if you can get somewhere if you fade the right guys, and I think that I might lean on the CJ fade and just pray for that they hammer him early. CJ gets 35, and I get to play. I'll play Tyus Jones who can get me 25, and I'll play Westbrook and Fox in my backcourt. I can't play Westbrook Fox. Tyus Jones only has point guard eligibility. Ugh, man. I do think looking at this is going to make it harder for people to play Westbrook. He'll have some ownership, don't get me wrong, but I don't think you're going to – like it used to be in these situations, like, if you ever had anybody – like Westbrook just is going to go nuts. And Davis doesn't really negatively correlate with Westbrook either. There's no real problem. They actually blend perfectly. So can Desmond Bane score 30 fantasy points and have Damian Lillard and have McCollum even if he gets 40 – I think I would take the 30 from Bane.
Okay.
At 18 or less. Yeah, that's the way I'm going to try and approach this, I think. Boy, Siakam is going to be like 65% owned, I think. I really think he's going to be.
Oh, he is?
I think he is.
Yeah, I don't want to play DeAndre Bembry.
Yeah, I don't either. I play Nurkic.
Booker and Curry. Certainly afford them. Oh, you're right. That Laker game is such a that Lakers can get blown out of that game.
It's not a joke. The one thing is they have, other than they had a couple of really, really just dreadful performances, but mostly they've lost a ton of close games to bad teams. But still, Sacramento is not. I mean, I don't know why. Even after this, I'm looking at the Lakers still as a favorite in this game. I think that's probably a mistake. But I think they'll actually they'll play well. But I really like the Desmond Bane thing. I think that's what I'm going to do instead.
Desmond Bane thing?
Yeah, it's just hard to fade. I mean, McCollum at 7,200, but if Simons gets, if Simons at 4K and then I play a Nurkic, I can use Nurkic as a big man spend. Now I don't expect Nurkic. He's 500 less than McCollum. Obviously, very different positions. If I was like looking at a utility spot, I would find a way to get to McCollum. But because he takes up the center power forward is just nowhere near as strong as the shooting guard, point guard spots.
All right, so just in
like
transparency,
nice little...
just for transparency, I am, as I indicated, I am forcing in some Booker Curry lineups.
Let's do it. I'm definitely doing it.
Yeah. On DraftKings.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing it.
Yeah. FanDuel will be a little easy, you know what I mean, more owned, but
yeah.
I'm going to do some over there too.
It's easier to do, but again, we just named a bunch of guards that people are going to play.
Right.
Where did you end up in terms of your ownership on a guy like Metu?
I didn't think I got him at all.
Because I actually like him, for what it's worth.
Let me just see.
But I don't think you need to play him. And I ended up with a little bit of him. He just made some sense in some of my lineups because of the position eligibility. I think he's a little bit of a better, safer play than Nance and the other guys.
That's this one I do. Booker over there, Booker and Curry over there. Okay. This looks good.
All right. Oh, dude, I can't. I'm not going to go through all the news, Timothy. I can't. It's not possible. I'll just tell you what I'm doing. That's too impossible. DSJ in first place or last place gets it. I'm with you, buddy. I can see the DSJ thing. We don't have to play him, but I'm going to. I have two big lineups on DraftKings. He will be in one of them.
Let me see. I'm going to let you know how much I have of the Metu guy. Would he be on DraftKings or FanDuel?
Both.
Let's see. I don't remember seeing him. No.
It's borderline thinnish on this slate at this point. But it's not that much thinner. It's no different really than the Larry Nance or Brendan Clark thing. And
right.
He's got more minutes upside.
I have 30% Dennis Smith Jr. on FanDuel.
30% Dennis Smith Jr. on FanDuel. Oh, interesting. On FanDuel, you got
it. That's different.
Yeah.
And then I have 17% of him on DraftKings.
Mm-hmm. That sounds about right.
Well, it's got too much Nurkic, but whatever.
Hey, look, I've got a good share. I just put Nurkic in my main lineup on FanDuel for the reason I just talked through the exact reason why I think it makes sense.
I got to get him out of sight. I can't have 100% Nurkic. I could, but
Horton Tucker. You really don't have that much Horton Tucker tonight?
No.
Okay.
Curry, Booker. Like you said, man, it's like it's. Nurkic, he sometimes does well at back-to-backs, but I mean, he's going to be 65. He's going to be very, very chalky. I don't.
Yeah.
Let me go back to this build here, and take Nurkic out. Just give me 5 lineups without him. What does that look like?
In the interest in Tyus Jones, I answered that one. I think he's a better play on FanDuel, but I'm actually avoiding him on DraftKings. I think he's fine. There's just a lot of other guys to play that I like a little bit better, to be honest.
I'm kind of with the field on him on FanDuel. Actually, probably a little below. I have like 33% of him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to answer your question, now that I am getting a little, I'm Xing out whatchamacallit, Nurkic in some lineups, and in those lineups, I'm actually getting a little bit of the Me Too.
Hmm.
Well, it opens up the center position, so I mean,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so let's put a couple of non-Nurkic's in here. Let's do these.
I mean, for what it's worth, the projections I'm looking at now do have Westbrook as the highest raw points scoring player on the slate.
Oh yeah.
So I think
I'll
he's
also
pretty
put
pretty
one
related.
lineup in with no Nurkic in this one too. All right, let's do that. And to answer your questions, I mean, I think Kenan Brown, a couple people ask me sometimes, do I ever force ownerships or whatever it is? The answer is usually not. But for some reason, I just don't. No reason to believe this. I just don't feel as though I want like 100% Nurkic. I just don't want. I just don't want it.
I get that's fine.
I just don't want it.
I get it. Sadiq Bey, Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes is the guy who I would like to have more in my lineups, and I just don't.
Okay.
I like him, makes sense enough. And by the way, this all could change if we see Marvin Bagley starting and Me Too not. You know what I mean? Like with this, everything could change
Right.
later on.
Yeah.
Because then I'll jump on that, but I'm gonna try and late stack for the most part.
What do you think of Svi tonight?
I think he's viable. I don't think it's. I mean, we always know he certainly has bust paths, but he's looked pretty good and been more active, and I think it's reasonable. He's why I like him though is that he's got forward eligibility. Like that's the biggest thing that I keep running back into is like, God, these guys. I need to have some like forwards. Like there's all these incredible guard plays.
Yeah.
I mean, his projection for minutes is pretty unbelievable. I think he might be projected to play the most minutes of any player tonight. That's kind of nuts. Probably no upside in the minutes.
I have seen we've seen him bust though.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So we're going to take Nurkic out of some of these. 5 lineups with no Nurkic as well on FanDuel. Then I'll feel a little bit better. I mean, he's going to be my big one, but whatever.
God, I keep ending up on Alec Burks too. The guys I'm trying to fade. I just can't seem to get away from these. Mellow.
One of these two. I'm happy now. Okay. Oops. She's failed. Okay. My mind, she's failed. Well, we'll find out. There's no FanDuel game to start at 7 o'clock, right?
Meet 7:30. Oh no, there's no earlier game now.
Okay. Oh, I know what I did. I know what I did. Okay. I try to put a DraftKings lineup into a FanDuel slate. Like the square peg in the round hole. Then we'll do.
We'll play that. You know what? Coming back to this Bagley thing a little bit.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it's a little more viable than people are treating it. By the way, Rajon Rondo is now active tonight, which
Oh,
tiny boost down from Westbrook, and it's not going to be a nationally televised game because that's going to be the Phoenix game. But I'm just saying not to play him. I'm saying just it's a tiny bit of a downgrade to Westbrook, I would say, because he's a pretty ball dominant player and going to take away a little bit.
yeah. So I guess I'm kind of happy now. I have too much McCollum. I got too much everybody.
Metu, Clark,
Tyus Jones, Christian Tyus Jones. I'd rather not, but I'm gonna have to on FanDuel to some degree. So only 4,600 starting point guard. I mean, like,
yeah. My way around that was just only playing one big lineup on FanDuel.
yeah, no kidding, huh?
I didn't really want to do that. I think THT is a great play, by the way. I really do. Yeah. I'm going to end up with one Alec Burks lineup. Jesus, that's really going to happen. The only way, because I keep running the same spot. Otherwise, I have to go 100% in my big buy-ins on Kyle Anderson, which I don't want to do. I'm happy to have some.
I'd definitely rather not do that.
Yeah. Burks.
Simons. Let's just do. How much Simons do you have? Like a zillion?
I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
But I did specifically actively try to keep him out of one of my big buy-ins on DraftKings.
Okay.
But I mean, it's a weird fade. Like, he actually has busted in these spots before, but this year he looks different. He looks like he's gotten better actually by a lot.
Not the last thing I want to do. Well, that game doesn't start for a while, right? Yeah. Worst case, I could take him out.
Yeah.
I could just flat out swap him with freaking Dennis Smith Jr. if I felt like it.
Yep.
It's probably pretty bad, but we'll see how I'm doing the rest of my lineups before that, I guess. All right, I guess I'm gonna go.
Okay.
I am gonna by the way, just for fun. So tomorrow we'll do an NFL preview for Sunday, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a very, very small golf slate tomorrow this week. It's like 20 golfers. I did put up the sheets, so I may as well play. If you want to do a quick recording on it, fine. Otherwise, I'll do something short on my own or whatever. There's a couple of spots I think that are okay.
Yeah, it works for me. I'm ready to do. I'm ready to do everything tomorrow. Now that the birthday week is over and the family week and the Thanksgiving, and I got some time.
All right, dude.
All right. Good luck. Good luck, everybody. Good luck, Sheets.
Good luck.